Maren and Angela, and this is Homeschool Unrefined. We created this podcast to change the conversation about homeschool. This is a place where we encourage each other to do less, be ourselves, embrace natural learning, and keep homeschool simple, real, and fun. We are longtime friends, Minnesotans, and practiced homeschool parents with our master's degree in education. We are an inclusive and non-sectarian podcasting community. We believe Black Lives Matter and affirm LGBTQ plus families. We hope this is a place where we can all learn and grow together.
This is episode 164, How We Homeschool, with Tanya from Project Happy Home. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, hi, Angela.
Hi. How are you doing?
Great. How about you?
Good.
We are going to start with an aha moment today.
Yes, Maren, you have an aha moment for us.
Yes. And it is an aha moment, first, let me just say, is just like these little epiphanies that we get throughout the day, throughout the week, you know, when something very minor happens, but it gives you this, you know, aha moment.
Realization.
A realization.
Yeah.
Okay, so what came to me this week is that I need to care less about some things. I need to care less.
Okay.
And let me
like what?
Let me explain to you. Well, this is the thing. It's very easy for me to get caught up on some details, which is interesting because I'm not a detailed person, but there are things that I place a high value on. And sometimes it's easy for me to place it on such a high value that it feels like it's more important than my actual relationship with my own children. You know? And so I need to care less about those things.
Like what?
Well, I think of things like some video games that I it's like used to be a hard no for me, and I've let go of sometimes of video games or a show or a book or breakfast food.
That's a big one.
It is. Did that strike a nerve?
It did. Mm-hmm.
Brushing teeth has been an issue. I can be very, I can get stressed out about making sure all of my children brush their teeth before a certain time of evening, for a certain time of night. And I can easily turn into this monster where I'm like the toothbrush monster, and it is not becoming of me. And it also just cuts that relationship for me.
Yeah.
Especially at night, when kids are tired, and it's just, my kids are getting older too. It's I can let go of the control of them brushing their teeth. And I said this to my husband the other night, and he's like, yeah, I let that go a long time ago. I can't keep that up. I would, I just can't do that. I can't care about how well they brush their teeth, or even if they do, sometimes.
Yeah, I kind of let that go too. I ask, make sure you brush your teeth. Did you brush your teeth? And then I don't follow up.
Move on.
Just let it go.
Yeah. Yes. Or it could be something like how they're doing a chore. How are they doing it? Are they doing it the way you want them to? Or are they doing it the way they are doing it? And there are times where I feel like there's good learning that can happen in those situations. And there are times when it is okay to not care. To not
For
care.
Sure.
Another example, I just had to share this one because this just happened today, and I'm going to talk about this on Patreon a little bit in our extended interview with Tanya. But my son he just loves decorating for holidays. Loves it. I'm not a big fan, or I like the decorations sometimes, but I'm not a big fan of the actual activity of decorating, Yeah. He's huge. It's if he could homeschool by celebrating and, decorating for holidays, he would love it. And he plans all year and saves up all year for lawn decorations, which I am I would say, I don't want to say I'm morally opposed to that, but it is just cringy to me. But I've let go. I care less. I am caring less and less every year. And when I see our lawn now, which my son just he spent all morning putting just carefully, putting these graveyards into my front yard. This is not me. This is not who I am at all. But I really don't care because it's so fun to see what he created in our front yard. And I know our neighbors are like, oh yeah, that was the 12-year-old
the kid
who did that. You know what I mean? And
well, at least they know.
yeah, totally. And if they
probably
don't,
saw
oh
him
well,
out there.
like who cares? It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
So
Well, because also like it's his lawn too,
it is.
and it's not like he has some say in what
He
the lawn
does.
looks like as well.
Yep, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So, I am also, I mean, there are, instead of even just like caring less, I'm actually caring more about my, relationship with my son or, my kids during toothbrushing time,
sure.
and not like worrying about the actual activity that's happening and just like realizing that I am actually, one of my jobs is to empower them to make the decisions to do these things. So in that way where I actually care a lot more.
Yeah.
But I'm caring
Great
less.
reframe.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So that's my aha
love
moment
that.
this week.
Thank
and it
you
was a
for
big one.
sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a big one.
It was a big one for
And
me and it changed a lot of
That's
what
great.
was going on in our house. It did.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, our sponsor for this week is Elephants and Algebra. And I have to say that if I had known about Elephants and Algebra last year, I would have totally used them because they are a math tutoring and teaching company. If you remember, if you listened last year at about maybe this time or a little earlier, I was talking about finding a math tutor teacher for my child. And this would have been just what I was looking for. So it started by someone named Ryan. He has lots of experience teaching math. He's been a math teacher for many years, and he created this company to help the homeschool community with their math teaching needs.
And that's really great because
that's really great.
we all, I think that's one of the most popular things that we could outsource. I mean, it's like, it's often a need, I would say.
For sure. For sure.
And what I love about Elephants and Algebra is that they can come in and come alongside you with your own curriculum and what you have in place already, or they can create something for your child.
Yes.
Which can be very helpful if you're just unsure of how to proceed. I mean, and then they make it really fun and exciting. So a lot of kids who have really disliked math in the past, after using Elephants and Algebra, it's become one of their favorite or their very favorite academic area. And that says a lot.
Right. So you can choose 1 or 2 hours a week, different options. And then what they do is they work with your child one-on-one and then live one-on-one. And then they assign homework for the week for you to work on together, which I think it would have been ideal for me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you do the teacher work and I will support you at home.
Versus the other way around, which is how a lot of tutors are set up. So that is really awesome.
If you are interested in Elephants and Algebra, go to elephantsandalgebra.com to sign up and see and learn more.
All right. Did you know we have a Patreon website? It's patreon.com/homeschool-unrefined. And in Patreon, we have extra episodes every month. We are now up to 4 extra episodes of special content just for you. If you like this podcast, you're going to love Patreon because we get even more real. We have more discussions. And now that we're doing 4 episodes per month, you are getting 2 episodes that are question and processing answers. We're not saying question and answer anymore because we don't give you always a clear-cut answer, but we process through your questions. And then we're always doing a check-in every month and an extra LTW, an LTW Extra. So that happens 4 episodes every month, plus we have lots of great discussions within the Patreon website. So we're really building a community there.
And this week on Patreon, we did a Q&P episode, where we talked about finding workable routines. And we also talked about how to help kids who are afraid to fail. So if you are interested in joining our community there, for $5 a month, you can go to patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
You get so much for $5 a month. I can't wait to see you all over there. All right. Our guest this week is Tanya from Project Happy Home. She is a former doctor, lawyer, turned homeschool mom of 3 delicious hooligans, ages 12, 8, and 7. She's an avid bookworm, reluctant hiker, and an expert eye roller. I love that. She shares videos on secular homeschooling, including detailed curriculum reviews, ADHD, planning, essentialism, and generally staying sane as a mom of 3 strong-willed kiddos on her YouTube channel, Project Happy Home. And you can also find her on Instagram at Project Happy Home.
Yeah, we have admired Tanya for years, probably since we started this podcast. We've known of each other, and we've known her casually. And so we were so excited to get to interview her for our How We Homeschool series. And I think you are going to love, if you don't already know her, you are going to love learning from Tanya. Well, hello, Tanya, and welcome to Homeschool Unrefined.
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
So glad you're here.
Yeah, this is long anticipated. I was thinking when we asked you to have you on, we should have done this a few years ago.
Yeah.
But we've known of you for a while, and so I'm so glad we're finally getting to it.
I think we both liked each other for a really long time, but I've never really sat down to talk. So this is great.
Yeah, I've been around since your very first podcast. So very beginning.
Oh, no.
I feel cringy about that. And you were so nice to write this super nice review. And, that's so nice of you. Thank you for always supporting us.
No, I was thrilled. I was like, what a great name and concept and all of it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Same. Likewise.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Tanya, like your job, your family, your background, everything like that.
So I'm Tanya. I live in North Carolina now. I've grown up all over the place, though. I was born in India. I grew up in New York and then Florida, and then we've moved 5 times in the last 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So we are all over the place. And my career has done the same thing. I started off in medicine, and then I taught middle school science for a little bit, and then I went into patent law. And now I'm a homeschool mom of 3, and they are 12. How old are they? 12, 8, and 7. Everybody has fall babies, so I always mess it up with fall.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Same with us. We have winter. Wow. So you've done a lot in your lifetime. Wow.
So how are you? I need to know. How are you both a doctor and a lawyer? Did you go to all that school?
I did.
Oh, wow.
I went to medical school. I met my husband. I did most of my residency in pathology, and then I decided to leave for teaching because I used to sit on the subway in New York City, and they had these great ad campaigns right then for teaching fellows where it would say, you remember your 3rd grade teacher, who will remember you? And I used to literally cry at 1 a.m. in the morning going home, being like, no one's going to remember me.
Oh my gosh.
So I got into teaching fellows, and then I taught for 2 years in the inner city. And then I taught again in law school too.
And then you went to law school.
And then you went to law school.
And I continued teaching in law school. That was what I did for my clinic.
Wow.
So.
Wow. And so when you were teaching, did that kind of influence your decision to homeschool? And how long have you been homeschooling? Have you been homeschooling the whole time you've had kids, or?
No.
Okay.
I always joke that my eldest was a full-time preschooler because he started at 3 and he went for the full day, 8 to 6 until I got off from work. So he was very well practiced.
Yes.
And then, so he went to preschool for 3 years and then started kindergarten. And I immediately started getting, the red bear and the red check mark and the phone calls home. And that's sort of why we started, because he just could not sit on the line. He was very cheerfully not sitting on the line, not being quiet, and his teacher said, he's so cheerful, but he will disobey immediately after saying, yes, I got this. And he got a lot of assignments sent home saying he did not finish again. And
Oh.
So,
Which was probably the right thing for him to do. He probably knew.
yeah. And we started, I mean, I wasn't satisfied with what they would have done for his diagnosis of ADHD.
Mhm.
So I decided we're just going to get you in shape for school in first grade. That was the original plan. That first grade was going to be this 1 year where I fixed him and got him ready for school. You know, that like he would learn tools to like make it work, because I was still working at this time, and homeschooling long term was not on my radar at all.
Right.
But then we really enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah.
And I had another, you know, I mean, the youngest was a baby at the time, and life just seemed to be so much less stressful all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Even though I was still working part-time, that it just made sense to continue the next year. And then we moved to North Carolina. And so it made sense to continue because it was a mid-year move, and it just became our life. And by then the girls were in their younger grades. They were kind of starting, and we just had this life now of homeschooling. So it was an accidental, you know, lifestyle switch.
Right.
Right.
And then did you quit your job, or do you still work part-time?
I worked part-time until 3 years ago, and I could do 3 years of homeschooling with part-time work.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's
I
amazing.
realized I was never sleeping. Yeah. I was not sleeping.
So you mentioned that your son, and maybe was it in preschool, you realized he's not sitting still. He has ADHD. Was that one of the reasons? So that was one of the reasons why you probably decided it's time to homeschool. Is that part of your homeschool philosophy now, or what? Is there anything that has evolved since then that really plays into your idea of why you homeschool now and what your philosophy is?
So our original reason was very determined by my son's diagnosis, but as it's evolved, it really just became about how much closer I was to them and how much fun it was to do this, to wake up when we wanted, to decide to go to a museum, to decide to go to the movies, to watch something totally not educational, to take vacation whenever we wanted. I liked having them all together. I liked being able to say, oh, this is like, you know, something we should watch. Like, look at this show, or this is something we should go do. Like, there's a festival here for this, you know, pre-pandemic days.
Right.
But that was important to me. And I liked how much time we were spending outside. I am not outdoorsy at all, but suddenly my life shifted to, you know, finding places to hike and finding things to do. And I think that, you know, when you compare the number of hours I was spending with my kids while I was working full time versus after, there is no comparison. I think that, you know, moms come in all shapes and sizes, and we all make different decisions, and there's no one right way. Exactly. But for me personally, like, I know that I couldn't do both things well in the way that I wanted to, because that's why I went part-time initially. Like, something had to give. I was exhausted coming home and then having like that 2 hours of quality time while also making dinner and making sure people were clean. You know, that was tough when they were little. So for me, it was really having a chance to be with them as a mom and like know them. And now I'm so grateful for how much I know them. You know, I know who my children are in a way that I don't feel that, you know, my parents or my husband's parents know him, you know, and not through any fault of their own, but by sheer value of time spent. So
that's so good. You know, I don't know that we've ever talked about that.
That is really good.
You know,
you said it so well. I think you've said it. You said it better than probably we ever have. But that's. I feel like we've tried to say that. But well said. I think that's so true. Just that connection that you have because of the time. That's not just all this logistic time, or we have to get stuff done time. You know, it's just a lot more connection time, downtime, fun time. It's all the other times that, you know, like it adds up to this, like really knowing your children so much more.
And I think they really know me as well. I think there's a lot more realistic interaction in the sense that when you only have to be with your children a few hours a day, and I'm saying this as somebody who did that life, you know,
totally.
I was on my best behavior because it was easy to be on my best behavior for 2 or 3 hours a day.
Yep.
And my children have seen me like completely melt down and have like very unfortunate explosions, whether sad or mad or just frustrated. But they've also like been there for how I repair that, you know, like how I repair it in myself. And I think they have a much better understanding than I did at that age of like not seeking to be perfect. You know, that there's adults walking around and they're unfinished, that they're still like figuring it out. I had this idea when I was young that when I was 24, my life was going to be completely like, organized. Like
well, I thought that about my
nice
parents.
Husband and 2 kids.
Yep.
So
I
thought my parents, I thought my parents knew everything.
Exactly.
And so when I would see them occasionally mess up, I was very critical of those instances.
Right.
And I think my children have seen it so much that they're like, oh, we're okay.
That's what adults, yes, that's what adulting is. It's, we continue to mess up and
and our parents are great people and it's fine. And like, we're all just doing our best here, you know?
For sure.
I did not have that idea when I was little.
Same.
You know, I definitely thought there was a destination and I wasn't there.
So true. Yep.
Yeah. So are you do you call yourself a particular type of homeschooler? Do you
I
give
just
yourself
have always
labels?
called myself eclectic.
Yeah.
Eclectic. Yeah.
I like that term because it really doesn't put me in any hole. I just,
box.
you know, any box. Yeah. I don't feel like I would ever identify with necessarily one type of homeschooler either, but yeah.
Yeah. If anybody's feeling overwhelmed with all the things they like or wish they could be, I did a video, I think in my 3rd year or 2nd year of homeschooling where it was the biggest mistake so far. And my biggest mistakes have remained the same in the sense that it's whenever I feel like I want to do all the things. Like I want to be the hiking mom and I want to be the Waldorf mom and I want to be the, you know, peaceful parenting mom. And I want to do all those things, like the best version of it I've seen on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you just start to, you know, melt down internally about how you're not the best of any of those things.
And like, I mean, I think that's natural. I don't think that it's bad that any of us want to do that because we want to belong. We want to feel like we're part of something. But then it's hard because, if we're really being authentic to ourselves, we're not going to fit all those. You know, we're not going to check all those boxes. And we, you know, as homeschool parents, we get to decide what our homeschool is going to look like. So
exactly.
It is, I feel like I go back and forth from wanting to, you know, identify with these people and then also so strongly need to be myself.
Right.
I think at the beginning, especially, you can feel like they're portraying such a beautiful image of this and you admire it so much. And then you admire this other thing so much. And then you don't realize how much time there is in a day or how much emotional input there is. And you forget who you are in all of this. You know, so
or you might just hear the good stuff and you don't hear all the stuff behind it. And that stuff you see in yourself. So
and it can easily kind of almost turn into school, which is, you know, the thing you're kind of trying to get away from, which is we are going to do these specific things because we're in this you know, we're in this group and this is what they do. So we're doing this. And so it becomes a little less personal. It can.
Yeah.
Anyway, but speaking of that, do you have any curriculum that you specifically do use or it works really well for you and your family? And what are, what are some of your favorite resources that you've used throughout the years?
So at the very beginning when we started with BookShark because I did not know anything and I looked up secular curriculum and I think this was right around the time BookShark launched. And, you know, I learned about all the interesting history, the derivations from sunlight and all that. But it was a really good experience for that first year. I was only homeschooling one child. It all came in a box. I was like, ooh, books. And it was literature based. And I really loved that for our first opener year. I thought it was simple and straightforward, and I did not feel overwhelmed at all. That being said, I got really enthusiastic about all my homeschool research that year, and I tried something different the next year and sort of pieced together my own. And every year I've done that. So we are very eclectic. I mean, I like different elements of different philosophies because I'm not good at them. So I'm not like delving into, you know, a Waldorf curriculum or a Charlotte Mason curriculum because I'm like awesome at that. I'm like, I would like to knit. Let us incorporate like a knitting thing this year. And so that's how it works for me. So like, I'm terrible. I would never think to take like chalk anywhere, you know, and do the sidewalk thing. But I'm really grateful that I looked into like those Waldorf accounts and Waldorf curriculums at the beginning, because that made me do that. And now that's something we do like on the regular. But I would say I'm basically classical, traditional for the most part, with a little Charlotte Mason thrown in.
Okay.
In terms of handicrafts and going outside. But so it's very loosey-goosey. In terms of specific curricula that I've really liked Hewitt Homeschooling's Lightning Literature. I think it's I think they do really nice book choices. They have grammar all together and integrated with the books.
Very nice.
And they have discussion questions. I'm not super fond of their composition, so I add in other things for that. We just did IEW with my eldest, and I was amazed by how, one, boring it is, but also how effective it is. Like I resisted it for so long because it seemed boring. But my son's expository writing has gotten so much better.
That's amazing.
Sold. That works. And it's videos. Yeah. And then I would say Math Mammoth is my other. Math Mammoth has been incredible for my kids. Like
awesome.
It has a lot of people think of it just as worksheets, but she includes lots of videos and games you can play on the line and in real life with a deck of cards. So I don't think people really see it for what it is, because it's just called a work text. And then I couldn't go without mentioning Build Your Library, because I think Emily Cook does the best book selections out there for a literature-based curriculum. And she reads all of the books before she puts them in there. She knows why she's choosing. And I like reading living books with them. And now that my eldest is in 5th grade, he, is reading most of them on his own. So like right now he's reading I Am Malala, and it's neat to hear him
That's so great.
Be the one to tell me about a book I haven't read. And I'm like, oh, when you're done, like give that to me.
Yeah. That's so great.
Isn't that amazing when your kids get to that stage where you're sharing books? That is a new era.
That's fun.
Right? I was so excited. I was like, I don't know any about that. I mean, he's telling me all these details about her life that I had no idea about.
Yeah. Well, what I love about what you just said is that you are choosing things that actually aren't by nature something that you would necessarily do. You're using them to like enhance, your homeschool, as instead of like, oh, I'm super interested in nature and I know a lot about it, and I want to do Charlotte Mason because this is totally what I love. I think that's so great that you're like, this is like not my forte, and I really want, I want this to be part of my homeschool. So we're going to incorporate this. I think that's really cool.
I think it's important for moms to stay interested.
Yeah.
At a certain point, if you're only doing what you already know and you're good at, I think it becomes a little monotonous, at least for me. I'm the type of person who has done a lot of different careers, and that's not just because I have different interests. I also get bored easily. Yeah. So, I relate to my son a lot on that level, and it's nice to just pick something out of your comfort zone and see whether it's something your family would jive with.
Yeah, totally, because it could really resonate with one kid.
Yeah. I mean, this is an opportunity for us to learn about things that we never learned about before, or,
so true.
Like get really involved. And I think that's a hidden benefit of homeschooling that not many people talk about, but it's fun. Like now doing it as an adult is like, this stuff is actually kind of interesting.
Totally.
I'm glad I'm learning about it.
Yep.
Yeah. So what does a typical day or week look like for you? Do you have like a routine or a schedule, or, are you home a lot? Do you get out a lot? How does it look for you?
It has definitely changed since the pandemic, but I would say that we have routines, not schedules at all. And that hurts my type A heart so much, because I wish we could wake up at a certain time and do math and then do language arts. We never do that. And my children are all very different from one another. And so we switch it up. I generally plan ahead week by week. And I just sort of loosely kind of scan where we are for each of them. And they each have an inexpensive planner. If you want an inexpensive planner, that's nice. They have Elan Planners. It's ELAN on Amazon.
Okay.
And they're like all under $9.
Awesome.
And, they're like a teacher
That's
planner
great.
or a student planner. And they have a million different designs. Anyway.
We'll put all these links in the show notes to everything
Yes.
Tanya's talking about. She's giving us a lot of good resources. So, yeah.
They're great. And so I fill that out for them for the week. But the kids generally have a choose your own adventure for their week. So if they're feeling very mathy that day, I have no issue with them just doing Monday through Friday of math and calling that their day. And we're fine with pushing things forward. There's no set, like, you must finish this, but I do let them know if you want to finish the year on time and have all your vacations free and not sort of carry this over into next year or into our, our winter break now.
Right.
You might want to stay on your weekly schedule.
Yep.
I give little incentives. So like if you're the first one to finish your week, you get like a coin, and the coin translates into money later. But I've been doing that since they were little. It's hilarious now because the coins are just 25 cents, but everyone's still very enthused. So
That's so great.
Yeah, they're the gold plastic coins.
That's just so great. And when you start that young and it's just what they do. It's like they want to keep going.
I don't run it at all now. They're like, I'm going to give myself a coin because I finished. I'm like, great, good to do that.
Yes.
So, so we just continue that way. Sometimes we use punch cards. So if you get 10 punches for the day, you're out. And those punches are what you select. Sometimes you just go down the line. I really like to give them different ways to make it work, so that however you're feeling that day.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll say, I'm using a punch card today. Sometimes they'll say, I just finished my whole row, or I've done this much. I want it to be open, like a conversation.
That is so great. I love that because sometimes we think of all these like little things to do, and then the kid is just like, I actually just want to finish my my work. I don't need this today. But sometimes they do need it. So that's great to have the choice. That's really awesome. I like that.
I remember not wanting to write a paper that day. That feeling of like, I don't want to do this today. And if you know when it's due, I feel like that's a different issue.
Yes.
I am like procrastinator extraordinaire, like the person who would like do the paper in a day. And I think that's a totally valid experience. And if you're that person, then I think that's fine. I think there's this urge to always make sure everyone knows how to segment everything. And I don't think that's necessary.
So what would be like the best part of homeschooling for you?
The best part of homeschooling for me is...
Or for your kids. Whatever.
I think it's the same probably for both of them. It's the unexpected things that we do. So like things that make us laugh, or, the inside jokes and the little things. Like we started doing a dance party where we would turn off all the lights and like, I'd put like a flashing thing on my phone and we would just like dangerously dance around like in pitch darkness and like things like that are just random things that are just ours.
That is really great. I feel like homeschool really does require me to be present and kind of, have fun.
Yeah.
Because
otherwise it's not going to last.
It's not going to last if you're not having fun, right?
Yeah.
My grumpiest days are when I try to make it more schooly. And I don't mean to, I think traditional schooling at home is fine if that fits your family.
Yep.
Traditional homeschooling is fine. But I feel like when you try to box it in and not see what can unfold, then you're missing out on all of this, what some people might call wasted time that just becomes fun. When the clay pots you were making to like study, Greece or something becomes a whole day of just messing about with this new material. And I think that's fine. A lot of us get really hung up on elementary school and what people have to achieve every year. And when I think back to what I learned in elementary school, it was how to read and how to do basic arithmetic.
Yeah.
I don't remember learning anything but the fact that Egypt had pyramids. I mean, that was the extent of my, world history knowledge in elementary. And I feel like I have a very robust knowledge now because later, I had interest and the ability to read that stuff and all that. I think people lose out on just experiencing life with your kids
Yes.
in those early years, with the
Yes.
stress of all the academics. So
For sure.
It's
I would
so
agree.
true.
And that's the hard thing is I feel like you don't, well, I don't want to speak for everybody. I'll speak for myself. I didn't learn that until, it was probably too late for my oldest. Like you learn it as you go along that what's most important here is like play and having experiences together and connection and all of that. And the academics are, we don't need to do 10 subjects. And like we can narrow this down a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like, compared to a lot of more playful homeschoolers, I think I do a lot of academics.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very rigorous in what I expect of my kids. But by the same token, I think if you adhere to that too strongly, like too tightly, that's when you lose the fun. Because, we take vacation when we want. If we have a great movie coming out that we're excited about, at least pre-pandemic, we would go see that. That it wasn't so important to finish Thursday. And I think both things can go hand in hand. You don't have to be an unschooler to have fun with your kids. And I think sometimes people who are more academically rigorous feel this need to just always hit a benchmark. True. And I'm just trying to teach my kids to think critically, to know that they can achieve whatever they want to. Yes. Like if they decide to do something very academically rigorous, I want them to be able to do it. But much more than that, I want to listen to them. And if they're having a day where they don't feel well, then I want them to be able to say that to me and go lay down and watch Netflix. And that's fine,
That is
because when you grow
really
up,
awesome.
that's what you do. You have that freedom.
Yep. It's the life skills that it's the foundation of how they can become successful in anything.
Yeah. So how are you finding community while you homeschool, Tanya?
I would say that since we moved to North Carolina, that was the first time I really tried hard to find community. At the very beginning, it was just that experimental year. So I didn't feel the need to really branch out past his friends that he had in the neighborhood. But after we moved to North Carolina, I just went on Facebook and tried to look at local groups in our area. There's definitely a lot of, hits and misses where you'll go to a group. What I always suggest people do is that they try out a variety and not give up. So you will feel like an outsider. You will feel like you don't relate to people, but all you really need is that one person who meshes with you, even in a group where you don't fit in. So with our Wild and Free Reject group, I didn't fit in with a lot of people there. And I remember the one person who told me, like, you've been kicked out. She literally had like a few interactions with me where she told me she liked my hunter boots. And that was it. And as it turned out, we became very good friends. And I think that you just have to keep trying, to branch out and to do the things you like to do, I think is helpful. So if you join if one of your children is interested in archery or pottery or horseback riding or what have you, I think it's good to go and to actually be present, not just be on your phone. And
that's great.
Try to, I'm very introverted. And so this was all very challenging for me. Like I would have to actively tell myself, okay, you're not going to be
you can do it.
Right.
So, but I think being weird too is fine. I think that's how you find your people as well, is to kind of inject your own brand of weird and test them and see how their face changes. You say whatever inappropriate thing you're going to say. So if they laugh, then you get their number. And if they don't, and if they're frightened,
exactly. That's a good litmus test. I like that.
That's funny. All right, so you mentioned a Wild and Free Reject group, and I know people might wonder what you mean by that. Can you tell us what that is?
So when I moved to North Carolina, I joined Wild and Free here. I really do love their feed. I think it's all beautiful. It's very aspirational to me, but I'm also not outdoorsy. So I wanted to do something that got me out on hikes and learned about local parks. And once the pandemic rolled around, we got an email from the director saying, what do you feel comfortable with? Do you want to meet inside without masks or do you not? And I responded, it was just a query. I responded, no, I'd like to do indoor things with masks. And apparently all of us that responded that way were summarily kicked out without being told.
Oh, no.
So I just thought, when I didn't receive emails later, I just thought, oh, the pandemic's going on. There's not anything going on. But then I realized that, no. Actually, we've been kicked out because I had a friend in that group call me and say, you're no longer on the email chain and neither am I. And there's 3 other moms who are not on there. And so we're forming our own little group. It's an official Wild and Free chapter.
Oh, great.
I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate us calling it the Wild and Free Reject Group, but that's what I've dubbed it. We have an official name, but it was a great way to find people like us.
That's true.
I think that's great.
Yeah, you were able to find the people that you connect with, and it's too bad what happened, but I'm sure you've gotten closer to this other group. So,
well, and I think that's the great thing about homeschooling. If you can find the people, it's sometimes you are the rejects, and then you get to form a group with the rejects. I feel like that can probably happen a lot in homeschooling because we are we're not sending our kids to public school for a reason. We're thinking a little differently probably than most parents anyway. And so I just think that's going to happen. And I think that's got to feel good to find the people who've all been rejected. And now you're all supporting each other through all of this. I think it's so great. Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Thank you. I feel very fortunate. It was one of the nicest things that happened in the pandemic year.
It's priceless.
That's great.
Finding a community is priceless. It's priceless. I'm really glad you found that. I'm glad that happened for you.
Me too. Because it's not easy. And I know there's a lot of people listening who don't have a community and desire one. And so
totally.
Yeah. I think it's great.
Way to go. Yeah.
Speaking of community, Tanya, are you finding community online too? I know you're a YouTuber, so you must have your own YouTube community, and all of you should go check out Tanya's YouTube channel, Project Happy Home. But also, are you finding what are the pros and cons, or the hard things and the really good things about finding community online with other homeschoolers?
So I think that when you find community online in particular, it can be great on many levels because you have the of people's lives. You get to see into their homeschool days. You get to have real-time ideas of books and curriculum and routine ideas and everything. You also get to search hashtags. If you are a Charlotte Mason homeschooler, I think it makes it easy to find community. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I think that sometimes we run into the danger of becoming very insular.
Sure.
And very tribal about the communities we belong to. So, for example, if we are a Charlotte Mason homeschooler, we cannot approve of the traditional homeschool route, or the more classical homeschool route. If we are an unschooler and we identify with unschooling, or we become a micro-influencer in that space, we can't ever say oh, wow, your schedule looks great. It's something that I would love to do on the occasional Wednesday.
Totally.
And I think that that's a mistake. And I also think that sometimes we can feel very threatened because everything's out there about what this makes us seem like, or how this makes us seem hypocritical or not, or, who are we affiliating ourselves with, et cetera. And so I think there's a lot more to navigate in that way, even with the friendships we form. Because I know if you guys feel this way, but as somebody who is involved in micro-influencing, you feel a certain responsibility for who you decide to promote and who you decide to share. And when some of those people might do something that disappoints you personally, you have a decision to make, about how to address that. And I think sometimes it's totally fair and valid to address it and to express your dismay or whatever the feeling is.
Sure.
And other times, I think sometimes people go too far and take things very personally when it doesn't have to be that way. You can admire someone for their curricula and not really respect a personal stance they have on something else. And I think that has to be navigated carefully. And so when you form relationships online, whether you're an influencer or not, I think it's important to really figure out like where your friendship lies and where, you know, where that connection lies, because I think the lines get very blurry and people get very heated in real time, you know, on social media, and feel the need to snowball into a topic. So I think that presents its own layer of social, you know, social dynamic that is new.
Yeah, it's almost like this whole new platform of navigating relationships and and connections. You know, and then sometimes I think a lot of communication can get harder when you're doing it online. It's not always clear, or it comes off in a different way, or, you know, it's just, that can also, I think, heat things up easily too. So, and like the one thing, you know, like I said before, like the one thing that we as homeschoolers may have in common is that we're doing something different, you know, than kids who go to public school or families who send kids to public school. And so like we have this idea that it's probably good to be different in some way. But then I think sometimes we don't, use that value in, you know, in a good way. Like it's good to be different
when
Let's
thinking
celebrate.
About other homeschoolers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's great that people are coming out, have a platform to come out with their opinions and share like what they're learning and all of these things. I just think there's a way to do it respectfully and in a way that isn't so personally triggered. I think it's something we're probably better at in real time because we give people the benefit of the doubt when we see them in front of us and we know them as people.
And we're talking to them in person,
right?
Hearing their story. Yeah.
And people are multifaceted, right? I mean, we are all coming from different backgrounds and different educational backgrounds and religious backgrounds and community backgrounds. We all have different numbers of children with different issues or lack thereof.
Yes.
And I think particularly since the pandemic, I think people have wanted to build those walls. You know, they're not just picket fences. They're like shoring them up against some, you know, existential angst.
Yeah. I've really felt that since the pandemic that the people are drawing stronger lines. It feels like in the homeschool community.
It really does.
And on the one hand, I understand, and on the other hand, I feel really sad about it. I feel something is going to be lost when we stop, when we only listen to voices of those who are just like us, or who are, you know, homeschooling just like us, or think just like us about certain issues. Things get lost in that, and
or just loudest too, or just loudest,
or who's the loudest. Yeah.
So
who has the best hair?
Right, that too. Yeah, who has the best
really,
production value? It's true. You're right.
It's like the high school tables again, you know, where people are, you're never allowed to sit at this table. And I just think that's sad. You know, I think not everyone at that table. I mean, remember all the teen movies you've seen, you know, there's always someone at that table who feels out of place there too. And I think we are more complex than we seem on our social media feeds. Every one of us. So that's something to remember.
And it gets
I think you guys, I think you guys navigate it really well, by the way. Like whenever you've had like a controversial topic to address, I've been really impressed. Yeah. With how you address it though. Really impressed.
Thank you.
So,
thank you. It's, you know, it takes a lot of intentional thought. We work hard at
really
that.
does. Yeah, we have lots of conversations about that for sure. Yep. Well, thank you so much, Tanya. Can you tell everyone where we can find you?
So I am basically a YouTuber. So most of my content is on Project Happy Home on YouTube. But I also have my Instagram account on the same name. So it's just Project Happy Home. And you can always email me at contactprojecthappyhome@gmail.com. I try to respond to everybody within like a couple of weeks or so.
Awesome.
And I'm
great.
I actually am one of those people who I will tell you like it is. So there is no affiliation that I'm not willing to tell you all the bad things about it and the good things. And if you want to see very long, drawn out curriculum reviews where I go do flip throughs, that I think is the real value of my channel and the ADHD videos that I do. So I talk.
Yeah, I did want to mention, I really appreciate your ADHD videos. I have kids with ADHD, and there's just not enough out there. There's not enough, just like normalizing it and supporting it. And so I'm very thankful for that.
I appreciate that. Yeah. The videos I do on ADHD, I realize are much more about like the parents' emotions, because I think so much of the content out there is about the kids and like actual, like how to make a schedule and how to do this. Those topics are interesting, but not nearly as interesting to me as how do you regulate yourself when you're so challenged by your child, you know, I really do appreciate when they are having a tough time.
Yes. So that's good. That's good. Yes. Well, if you are a patron, Tanya is going to stay on and talk to us a little bit more for the patrons. So you can look forward to that there. But thank you, Tanya, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been such a fan for so long.
Thank you so much.
All right. And just a reminder, you can go to Patreon for our extended interview with Tanya. Let's move on to loving this week.
Yes.
Maren, I'm excited to hear, what are you loving this week?
Okay. I am actually loving a lawn. Okay. It's a lawn care company, and it's called Sunday. I know you're surprised. Okay. This is probably not what you're expecting.
No, I was not expecting this.
But I'm loving it, and here's why.
Okay.
So Sunday is an all-natural lawn care system that they just send you. You can get a subscription for it, and then they send you things at the beginning of your season, your growing season, in the middle, and at the end. And so it just comes at the right time when it's time for you to put something on your lawn. And they give you custom nutrients. Like when you first sign up, you send them a sample of your dirt, basically.
You do?
Yep. And then they analyze it, and they give you a report on the health of your lawn.
Wow.
And so I know, it's just so great. And it's all very natural and very educational. So here it says on their website, it says, with guidance and custom nutrients, we help you cultivate rich, living soil for a healthy lawn that's more self-sustaining. Instead of brute force, we use cutting-edge plant science to get back to how nature is supposed to work. So they don't give you any weed killer because they say, like, growing healthy grass is the most natural and best way to get the weeds out of your lawn anyway. So if you don't want weeds, just grow healthy grass. And so I know, and I've asked, I'm specifically talking about them now. We've been using them for 2 years. But I'm talking about them now because we had a big, a drought in Minnesota this summer. And I had some patches of grass that weren't growing this summer. And so I emailed them, and they were so helpful. They had me take pictures of specific parts of my lawn, and even just like my sprinkler head, so they knew exactly what was going on with the lawn and everything. And they helped me figure out what my lawn needed. It was just all personal emails right towards me, and they were so thoughtful. And then they helped me through so much stuff, and it was it was just really easy. It was really easy. And so I'm really loving them right now.
Okay, so what are they sending you? Is it like a liquid that you spray on?
And they give you the little thing that helps you connect it to your hose, and then you just spray it on your lawn.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know. And it's all natural things.
You are so good at finding these like new techie things.
Well, that was my husband. And here's my husband. He really likes to have a good looking lawn, but really doesn't want to do anything. And I am like the opposite. I actually like doing lawn work, and I don't particularly care what the outcome is. I just like to be out there and stuff. So this is like a great compromise, because it's, it's really easy. It's really easy to do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And what's it called?
Sunday.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, Angela, what are you loving this week?
All right. I am loving Califia Farms cold brew.
Ooh.
And their oat barista blend together.
Okay.
All right. So I don't drink coffee anymore,
Yeah.
but I love coffee so much. And I've kind of tried to put it out of my mind as like this thing I love, but I just can't have because I get lots of side effects, right?
Right.
But I heard somewhere that cold brew isn't as hard on your body. And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try that.
Is it because
I'm gonna
it's
try
less
it.
acidic? Or
I think so.
Yeah, is that why? Yeah.
I think so. And so I saw this on Thrive Market. These two products are sold together. And I was like, oh, I am going to try that because I also can't have dairy. Yeah. But now oat milk is like, it's like as creamy as dairy.
Wow.
And it tastes really good, right? So, you know, like lattes and stuff are much better, or coffee is much better with oat milk, right?
Yes.
So I bought these two products together and it is to die for. It is so good. I don't know if I think coffee has come a long way in like 5 years. I think it has. Or I've just missed it that much.
It could be both. I
think it's both. But this is a concentrated cold brew. So you do like half of your... I've been drinking it mostly iced. I have heated it up. But you do like half of your glass as this cold brew and then half as the oat milk.
Ooh, nice.
And then I add a little bit of sugar. And it's so good.
That sounds amazing.
So good. It is such a treat. I love it so much.
And I love oat milk, and I can drink dairy, but I absolutely love oat milk.
Yeah,
in my coffee,
so creamy.
in my coffee drinks, I just love it.
Yeah,
it's so creamy and smooth.
Mm-hmm. And then you can froth it if you want, if you want some froth or whatever. Disclaimer, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to drink this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's going to start to affect me. But for right now, it is like the best treat. I love it so much.
It's so great.
And I highly recommend putting them together.
Do you have this every day now? Or
No.
is it a special treat?
No, I have it every other day.
Okay.
I have it every other day because I know my body cannot handle the coffee every day. So I have it every other day, and it's such a treat. On the mornings I wake up and know I can have it.
That is just awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You can find us on social media. We are at Homeschool Unrefined on Facebook and Instagram. We have a website, homeschoolunrefined.com, where you can find links to everything that we talked about and show notes, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Homeschool Unrefined is created and produced by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Amanda Ginn is our content and marketing strategist. This podcast is listener supported. Join our growing community at patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
We donate 10% of all Patreon income and product sales to The Conscious Kid, a Black and Brown-led organization that has been instrumental in our own evolution and in leading the way in both ideological and tangible change with their work in parenting and education through a critical race lens.
No matter how you homeschool, you are exactly who your kids need. You're doing great.